Hello there, folks, and welcome to this Wednesday weekly webinar from Organic Digital. Thank you so much for joining me, whether you're watching this live or after the fact. Really appreciate you giving me your time this evening. We are chatting about Facebook advertising funnels. But firstly, if this is your first webinar with us or you're a repeat offender, then you may, well, you would know me, but if it's your first time, then I'd like to introduce myself. My name's Dan from Organic Digital, and at Organic, we help small to medium businesses both manage, train, and educate on Facebook advertising and help people drive sales and conversions from their business and help them grow their business through Facebook advertising. And tonight's topic is a really common one that we get asked about, and probably one of the more understated or misunderstood topics that we often talk about, but it is critical to your overall Facebook advertising strategy. So we're going to get into that. I'm going to go half and half screen here for a little bit. Obviously, just a couple of housekeeping issues. If you've got any comments throughout the webinar, just enter them over onto the comments window over there on the right-hand side with your questions. Just make them as I guess as descriptive as possible in case I don't pick them up at the time, but then try to go back and answer them. I'm not quite sure the context around your question. So, of course, you're more than welcome to enter as many questions as you like. The training itself will probably go for approximately 40 to 45 minutes, and then we'll have plenty of time afterwards to answer any questions, and any questions that I don't get to, I'll make sure to follow up afterwards and get you the answer. Because that's what I want you to come away with. And tonight's all about action and getting you to take some action around your Facebook advertising, because you've taken an hour out of your time today, and I know it's really tempting to have multiple different things happening all at once, but I've attended a lot of webinars in my time, and I've found that the webinars that I've got the most out of are the ones that I can give 100% of my attention by, whether it just be if you're a note taker, you can have some notes nearby, but turn off any notifications from Facebook, email, Skype, the lot. Turn your phone on silent if you can. Just remember that this is your time and you owe it to yourself to try and get the most out of this session, and making sure that you get some value out of it. And at the end of the day, that's what I want to deliver. So the best capability of doing that is if you're as least distracted as possible. If you haven't yet downloaded the Facebook ads funnel worksheet, you can do so and follow along if you like. Of course, there'll be a replay available of this webinar after the fact that you're more than welcome to go back and fill out and stop and start and go over anything that you're not sure about as well and fill that out. I really encourage you to do that because we're going to cover this in more detail. But first, I just want to reassure you that you're in the right spot. These are the common questions that we've had, and I want to check whether you've had these questions before as well around Facebook advertising. But often a lot of people say that I've spent a little bit of money or I might have boosted posts before. Some have worked and may have had a little bump in sales, but most haven't or haven't worked over a long duration or a consistent duration. I'm not sure what to put in my Facebook advertising is another one that we come up with, and how to talk to people in Facebook advertising. It sounds really basic, but it's a really key aspect, the creative in your Facebook advertising. So we're going to cover that tonight. And if you've ever asked yourself or someone else, I can never tell whether my Facebook ads are working, then we're going to give you some information that you can help better track your campaigns and monitor the success of them, knowing that your ads are going out to the right people at the right time. So tonight, I just want to reassure you that you're in the right spot, and hence why I try and encourage you to give it as much attention as possible, because if you're a person that wants to find a working solution on Facebook ads and what's working at the moment, or you just need a better understanding of Facebook advertising and how it sits in the overall online advertising ecosystem and in your marketing strategy, then you're in the right spot. If you want to find out some clear steps on what to focus on first and you're overwhelmed with a lot of the information out there, because it is a very big topic and there is a lot of voices in this industry as well, including mine, and I'm completely honest with that you need to prioritize what you need to focus on first. And I want you to come away from that webinar with some clear steps on what you need to do next and what you need to focus on first, and then prioritize those steps out over a duration of time. We all want to get it done now, and I totally get that. I'm one of the most impatient people, but you need to focus on what happens, what's worthwhile focusing on right now at this very point in time. So I'm going to get into the meat of the education session in a sec, but I also want to let you know to hang around to the end of the webinar as well. We're offering a free 30-minute ad performance session. You've given me some of your time. I want to give some of my time back, and I'm happy to jump on a Skype call or Zoom or whatever works for you on the phone and chat just about your Facebook advertising. If you're not running Facebook ads at the moment, then potentially might be a question that you have around what's next, what to focus on first, what's right for your business, who to target for your business. If you're already running ads, and I'm happy to jump into your ads manager with you, and we can diagnose and troubleshoot how campaigns are going, and maybe as little as you like how you can set up your campaigns and structure your campaigns properly. We can really talk about whatever you like, because you can tell I enjoy talking about Facebook ads because I'm a bit of a geek. So hang around to the end. I'll give you some information on how you can access that free session. But want to get into the meat of the main part of information sessions tonight. But first, to what I like to focus on with all of my training is really to set the scene of where Facebook ads is at the moment. And I do this because it needs to give you some context on why you're going to do what you're going to do and why the tactics that you use on Facebook ads are slightly different. So I'll cover the growth of Facebook advertising and how popular the industry is, also why it's popular, around some stats around its user base. There's some really interesting capabilities and tactics in advertising a lot of people don't realise are available and are options available to them. And finally, I just want to finish with why it's different, and probably really the main reason why you need to set up a Facebook advertising funnel. So let's get into just setting the scene around Facebook advertising. So advertisers themselves, the people that actually send the ads out, these are stats from April of this year, actually. So they ticked over 5 million advertisers in April or May of this year, I think it was. And funnily enough, they were at 4 million in about September of last year. So I'm assuming they're probably, if that continued growth, and I'd assume that it would, just because of the attention that the industry is getting, that they're probably not far off ticking over 6 million advertisers around the world. Interestingly, 75% of them are from outside of the USA. So it's certainly not just the major populated areas. A lot of the rest of the countries around the world are commanding a fair bit of attention from Facebook advertising, including us in little old Australia. We also are really quite active on Instagram, as well as are a number of other advertisers. So if you don't know that Facebook own Instagram, so you can serve ads to the Instagram platform, but you set them up via Facebook. And people are serving more ads to the Instagram platform, and I have no doubt that this has really skyrocketed because Facebook have changed Instagram's platform and the channel itself to be able to show ads in more areas and trying to find some more creative ad units that they can set up. So they've just ticked over the 1 million advertisers on Instagram earlier this year as well. And obviously with this popularity of the platform and the capabilities of it, it does create a competitive environment, and it's probably as competitive as it's ever been. So you need to be mindful of that you are competing against some other small businesses and large businesses out there, because we're all trying to attract the same eyeballs on Facebook, even though, as you're seeing the stats here, Facebook's user base is over 2 billion people. These are from July of this year, so they have ticked over the 2 billion mark. A lot of people underestimate their other properties that they own as well. So not only the Facebook groups, but also the messaging apps are really big. They own 2 of the 4 largest messaging apps around the world, including Messenger and WhatsApp. So they command a lot of messages, and a lot of communication goes through them. And as well as the property we mentioned before on Instagram, just the user base in that has really surpassed any other social media channel out there that would be in the same sentence, such as Twitter or Snapchat or LinkedIn and Pinterest. It's just left them in their wake, really, and it's past 700 million users in July of this year. So, or actually this was earlier than this. So it would be well past that now. Facebook really basically have the 2 largest social media platforms, including the groups and the messaging apps as well. And they're an active bunch. over half of them log on at least once a month. So over 1 billion people use Facebook each and every month. And that's a pretty big active user base there that you've got available to you as an advertiser. And that's the strength, and that's why Facebook advertising are growing so much, because people realise that everyone is on Facebook, not just a select group as it once was. Say back in the day, they still had 1 billion people, but now I don't think any brands can really ignore Facebook advertising anymore. So this third section is one of my favourite sections to go through, because people don't quite understand the capabilities and the tactics that are available to them and options that they have available to them as an advertiser. But really the strengths in Facebook's advertising lies in this algorithm. And the algorithm is extremely accurate, and it basically determines what you see when you log onto your Facebook newsfeed. So what the algorithm does is it combines thousands of different data points on each and every user, and according to them will determine which brands, businesses, friends, advertisements they see in their both Facebook, Instagram news feeds, and across all the other properties that Facebook own and serve advertisements to. These data points are collated not only from the behaviours that they perform on Facebook and Instagram, so not only on those platforms but also off of those platforms, so across websites. And they're also getting very good at combining their user-based data with data from third-party external data companies. So as an advertiser, you actually have some really fascinating insights around more of your real life and offline, I guess, conversions and behaviours that people make. So things like their spending habits on credit cards, whether people are in the market for a upcoming loan, a car loan, a home loan, whether they've just taken out a mortgage, whether they're looking to buy a house. All of these different data sets, they're combined by some of the big players around the world. Two of the biggest ones, Visa and MasterCard, that they sell your purchasing data and habits to. Facebook basically buys that, and then they can match. They know that your name and your email address that Visa or MasterCard have, then they know that that exists in their Facebook user-based system. They can match that and then attach those habits that you do in an offline environment to your profile, and it's just some extra data points that they've got about you. So there is a lot of and it's a really sophisticated system, because not only can they find people that have got certain interests and certain demographics, but they know the behaviours that you actually perform, and they find users that are most likely to perform that behaviour. So when you set up your campaign objective, and it seems like a really simple decision when it's a first screen that you see, that you have video views, website clicks, conversions, there's engagement, there's a bunch of different ones that you can actually target to, but different people consume media and perform different actions more than others. So if you, for instance, had a pool of 1 million people, then within that pool of 1 million people, there would be a subset or a segment that are most likely to watch more videos. As there would be another segment, there might be a little bit of an overlap, but there would be another main group of people that also click on links and visit websites off of Facebook as well. So when you set up your campaign, and if your campaign objective is video views, then the people in that segment, that sub-segment within that pool of people, they're most likely to see your advertisements, because Facebook want to drive video views for you. Same as that other segment, even if there is a little bit of an overlap of people that visit websites off of Facebook, then they're most likely to see your advertisement if your objective is traffic or the clicks to website objective. Another big tactic that we're seeing in Facebook is them prioritizing video over a lot of other formats. And that really comes down to Facebook wanting to keep people within the platform. That's where their power lies, and them spending more time in the news feed, and video has obviously a really good ability to do that, because they can keep people watching it. If it's interesting video, if it's funny video, they're getting better at collating different related videos and keeping people because then if you're there, then you're consuming more content from pages and brands, and friends and family, and obviously advertisers as well. And like I mentioned earlier, with that competition of advertisers and the growth in that, the more advertisers that are coming onto the platform means that they've got to expand the areas that they actually show advertisers. So they're getting more creative in the ad space because they're running out of ad space to show to, even though they've got over 5 million advertisers on there, there's still 2 billion people, and everyone's trying to vie for their attention, and they're actually running out of, I guess, people and the ad space and ad inventory that they have available to show advertisers ads to. So they're expanding into areas such as Facebook Messenger. They've got an audience network. They have a number of different mobile apps that they show their advertisements on as well. And really that's where the emphasis and their focus is for Facebook, because it's all around the mobile to engage users around the world, because mobile is so accessible not only to, I guess, the Western world, but a lot of your developing countries as well. They know that they can get Facebook in front of people on mobiles because they're more accessible to them than your main desktop, laptop computers. But even though with all of the tactics and what they're focusing on and everything like that, the principles really remain the same. And that's why I think that Facebook advertising is different than any other online medium out there, because the main thing that people don't understand is the intent. So the intent is different because people don't go there to, whether we like it or not, don't go there to hear about your latest sale, promotion, advertisement from your business. No matter whether they're a really loyal customer, that's not why they log on to Facebook. They're there to get human interaction and human connection with friends, family, watch videos that are of interest and relevant to them. And at the end of the day, us as advertisers are interrupting their browsing unless we're putting relevant content in front of them. And Facebook knows, well, as advertisers, we need to understand that the users have the power. They have a simple power by a simple flick of the thumb that scrolls straight past your video or your advertisement on mobile. So they have the power, and we need to respect that, because Facebook will also always take the side of its user base. Those numbers earlier around the 2 billion user base, that's where its power lies to bring more advertisers in. But if they alienate that user base and they start serving them irrelevant ads, then they know that people will leave their platform. So they will, even though we're paying Facebook money, they will always make sure that the advertisements that you're trying to put in front of people are relevant to that audience, or they just simply won't show it. And we've actually seen this before, where people put up advertisements in front of people and try to target a large audience, but it just isn't relevant to them at that point in time. And even if you're trying to give Facebook money, they actually won't take it. So you need to respect the platform and use it to your benefit. And you can do this by building a relationship with your audience. And by doing that, I really like this quote. I can't remember who it was. I have to go back and find it. But it's a really interesting quote around what a Facebook user or a social media user is looking for every day when they log on. They just want the human connection and interaction. They can get as much attention as they want. Everyone is trying to get their attention, but they actually want to connect with brands and connect with people, because with all of the growth of the online mediums and media, people still, at the end of the day, want to try and get a human interaction. And it's up to us as advertisers to be able to try and get that connection with the target audience that we're trying to serve our ads to on Facebook. And I try to kind of use the analogy of, if you think of a human interaction in a retail store or an actual bricks and mortar store, what we're trying to do is replicate that interaction. We're never going to be able to replace it through online advertising, but we can put content in front of them that gets pretty close. And if you think about when you first walk into a retail store, the shopkeeper isn't there as soon as you walk in. They don't go up to the sale rack and grab something off and shove it in front of you and go, here, buy it, it's 30% off. That's just not human human interaction and how people actually interact with one another. They try to build that relationship with them. There's a conversation that happens before that, and then they can ask whether they can help at all. And you even see it when you go into retail stores, and if someone comes up and the first thing they says is, "Can I help you?" Generally, unless you know what you want then and there, so you've got that intent, I say it 90% of the time is, "Oh, no, I'm just browsing." Even if I know what I'm browsing for, it's probably easy for me to say, "I'm actually looking for this." I often just say, "Oh, no, I'm just browsing, I'll let you know." And they're like, "Okay, no problem," and they walk off. But then if I did want to go and get some more information, I'd actually go and have that interaction with them. But for some reason, people just lose their marbles when they jump onto Facebook advertising and they interact. I like those, try to relate it to those big blow up things that you see out the front of car dealerships and the vacuum places around Melbourne that kind of flail in the wind, and they're just kind of jumping all over the place and trying to grab attention. Often that's what I think advertisers are trying to do on Facebook, because they're trying to sell to them straight up without actually having that conversation first and trying to build that relationship with them. And that just simply, it doesn't work in an in-person interaction, and it definitely won't work in an online interaction, because users have that capability and they have the power. So you need to respect that. You need to be able to think, all right, well, what can I put in front of them to be more relevant to them? And if you think about the customer journey and the decision-making process that people go through. So today, like I call it Facebook advertising funnels and sales funnels, but you can call it customer journey, you can call it whatever you like. It's basically the decision process that people go through from a cold audience to the point of purchase. And we're saturated with media these days. There are a lot of different studies, and there was one that went into a fair bit of detail. It said we face over 2 million pieces of media every single day, whether it be online, in real life, advertisements, signage, whatever it is. We're bombarded with messages all the time. And the steps that people take to purchase or convert is as long as it's ever been. There are a few different studies out there. Again, I've read some that say it's grown to 6 to 7 steps. Some other people say that it's up to 17 times, but it's definitely no longer that old sort of in the Mad Men era when it was like, you've got to see a brand 3 times before you make a purchasing decision. The people, like I say, have the power and they have information at their fingertips to be able to make an educated decision. And if they don't connect with it, they simply won't convert. And I'll like to use this little story about a purchasing decision that I actually made recently myself. So I thought I'd document it. I was sort of a week in or so, and I thought about what the steps that I've taken before I've gone and tried to purchase a pair of shoes, basically it was, and then what I was served throughout the process. So basically, I was in a market for a new pair of shoes, and the reason I knew I was in a market for a new pair of shoes is I left the gym one night. It was slightly rainy here in Melbourne, and I slipped on the tiles out the front of the gym. Luckily, I managed to catch myself before I hit the ground, but I then looked at my shoes and realised that I'd probably worn them out a little bit too much. I really tend to use a lot of my my shoes and clothes probably beyond their use by date, but I looked at them and said, okay, I need a new pair of shoes. I don't have any grip on the rest of these. So my personal journey, and we need to remember this is me as an individual. So many different people, their first step may be different other channels. For me, I went through to Instagram and I searched the hashtag sneakerhead to look for some cool sneakers and I guess see what was the trends these days if I want to keep up with the cool kids, and went through Instagram and searched a few of those accounts that were using the hashtag sneakerhead, and I've followed some of those accounts and then didn't really think much else of it. Left it for a few days, as I tend to do, didn't make a purchasing decision then and there, and then was about 6 days later, was on Instagram again, was scrolling through and saw a post from one of those brands that I'd followed. So these, check out these latest shoes. I think they were something reasonably special. I thought that was pretty cool. They were like not biodegradable. Like they were made of plastic. They were like recycled based shoes. So I went through to visited their website from there. Clicked on a link in their profile, went and checked out the blog post. On the blog post on their website, they had a YouTube video embedded. I subscribed to them on YouTube, and that was basically it on day 6. So then, again, didn't really think much else of it. Went through and checked out the shoes. They were way out of my price range, and they probably looked a little bit too bright for my liking and my taste. So I forgot about it for a few more days. Then was browsing through Instagram and got served the first advertisement. Now, the advertisement was from the brand that I went through to their website. So they've clearly shown me a retargeting ad because I've hit their website. And the first offer that I got was sign up to their email list for a discount on my first order. I think it was 15 or 20% or something like that. And so I did that, went through, punched in my details, got the automated email, say, here's your code, come back and purchase this if you like. I didn't actually go through and browse from then. I just left it for a few more days again till about day 14, and I got another advertisement that was showing me some of the latest styles of sneakers. And I thought, all right, well, I'll go through and actually probably browse some of these now. So I clicked on that ad, went through to the website and actually browsed some shoes there and found the ones that I really liked and knew that I had the discount code there. And then I added them to cart then and there. Now, me as a consumer, I'm obviously probably a little bit more educated in the actual marketing side of things. I know that if I add it to the cart, then I'm probably going to get hit with a remarketing ad, and I also want to do it for this exercise as well. But regardless, I was actually on the train on the way home anyway, and so I added them to cart, but I wasn't going to bring out my credit card, punch in my details, do that on a mobile at all. I just said, I'll just leave it, in the knowledge that I was going to probably get an automated email and an advertisement not long after that, which funnily enough I did. So again, because I'd given my email before that, they knew who I was based on the pixel as well, so they can match my user data. They sent me an email to say, hey, it's still in your cart, come back and complete your purchase. There was also a Facebook advertisement that said, come back and complete your purchase of the shoes that I was going to purchase. And then on day 17, so that was, the day after, I was actually 2 days after day 14 when I added them to the cart, got that, and then entered my details and got confirmation, entered my credit card details and got confirmation email that day after, and all the shipping details, and had my new shoes arrive in the mail a few days after that. So that was all up from the first time that I slipped on the tiles through to the time that I actually handed over and converted was up to 17 days. And, you know, the other thing to remember is this is just me as an individual. There's no linear process to this. People could come in at any stage along this decision process. They might have gone straight through and skipped to, you know, day 14 where I was browsing some products. They might have just gone straight then and had a look at some. And then as, you know, they're more of a warmer audience, and you as an advertiser can then retarget to them because they've clearly shown that intent. But other people that you may need to convince them that you're the right brand and you've got the right product and solution for them, they may need more of a warming up. And, you know, for me, it was a piece of content that I found interesting and didn't think much of it as a consumer that I would get retargeted with an advertisement. But that's a really strategic sales funnel that know that, well, if they've hit the website, we can retarget them based on the behaviors that they've performed. So it's a combination, and this journey that I've gone through is a combination of behaviors that I've performed, but also putting some good creative in front of me to help me move me to the next step. So the content got me into the website and got me to consume some of the content, and then the offer of a discount code got me into browse some of the products and onto the website to look at some more, and then another advertisement that was clearly talking about the product that was referred to in the piece of content. That got me into the website again, and then another offer that encouraged me to come back and use that discount code and get some price off on the the product that I'd added to my cart and abandoned. So this is, again, it will vary for each individual user, but all you can do as a brand is really try to be front of mind. And if you use the analogy of the human interaction in a retail store, again, they're not going to get me to day 14 and grab a pair of shoes off the rack, and when I walk into the store, they're not going to say, here, take these. They're going to find out what I'm interested in. They're going to put the equivalent of a piece of content out there that had some cool shoes. They might talk about those, but like, I'm not interested in those, but hey, they might offer me a loyalty program if I was in person to give me a discount code. That's the equivalent of sending the email to me. So all of these things are trying to replicate what we can do as human beings, and have that human interaction, and just trying to be front of mind to move me further to the point of purchase. And it is important that there is going to be no silver bullet. There's no perfect customer journey that everyone will go on. All we can really do is just aim to be front of mind and try to think and put ourselves in the customer's shoes as to what we can put in front of them and what we can offer to help move them closer to the point of conversion. And to do that, and the way that I encourage people to do is to start from the end and work backwards. So know what that final goal is. The final goal was for me to obviously purchase a pair of shoes. They wanted me to get me over the line and buy that product. So working back from that, what can they put in front of me and what steps would I need to take to actually get there? And that's what we're going to go through tonight when we're talking about our Facebook advertising funnels. And if you're not sure whether Facebook advertising funnels are right for you, I always put this in front of people that helps get them over the line. But Facebook wants you to think of your Facebook strategy as a funnel. When you first set up your campaign and an individual campaign, you're actually choosing what point they're at in the sales funnel, because they've broken down the objectives into 3 different columns: awareness, consideration, and conversion. And they're the labels that I actually put across a sales funnel to relate them back to Facebook so people understand them better. But each of these are talking to different types of audiences. Awareness, obviously, pushing the brand and pushing it to a cold audience. Consideration is that decision-making process, and conversion is what can you put in front of people to help them to take that final step. So this is why Facebook and the Facebook reps always say that you need to be having more than one campaign running, and a good sales funnel will have different types of awareness campaigns running, different types of considerations, and also different types of conversion campaigns running at the same time. And they all happen at the same time. They're all set up, and that's a really detailed sales funnel. But that's where we need to get to as Facebook advertisers, because going back to the competition, if you're not putting the right content in front of the right people at the right time, Facebook won't show it to them, and you won't necessarily get penalized as an advertiser, but it will cost you more to get people over the line, and you're just wasting money. So you owe it to yourself to at least try to get this some sort of strategy and funnel down in front of you, so then you can lay out, all right, what are the steps that people have got to take? So I want to make that as easy as possible as I can for you tonight. If you have downloaded the Facebook ads funnel worksheet, then I encourage you to print it out if you like, and you can take some notes as you go. You can use the worksheet for this process. Basically on the worksheet, I actually work backwards from, even though I've listed them in awareness, consideration, and conversion, I actually work from that point backwards, like I said. Firstly, you need to know the audience, and that really helps, is to know where they're coming from before that. Last week's webinar, we actually covered how to find a target audience and the targeting options available to you. So encourage you to go back and have a look at that webinar on Facebook audiences, because you need to know, I guess, where they're starting from as well. So you need to know the start and the end being the conversion, the start being what sort of audience they are and how cold they are, I guess. But on this worksheet, there are 3 different columns in each of the steps that they take. The first one, I call it the touch point. So at what point they are in the customer journey. I've got an example there on, the awareness is the first ever exposure. Whereas a touch point in, step 4 or 5 might be that they follow you on Facebook or on Instagram, or they've handed over their email address and signed up as an email subscriber, something like that. So list that, and then list next to it, well, what offer or call to action can I put in front of that person to help them get to the next step? And then lastly, list what campaign objective you need to use on Facebook. So for the awareness, it might be, I've put the example there of the first exposure to the brand. If I've got a video that I want people to watch and get them to be able to remarket to them, then a campaign objective would be video views for me. It might also be engagement as well, or any number of other different objectives depending on what sort of content it is and where they are in the sales funnel as well. So feel free to use this worksheet or print it afterwards, and you can stop and start me in the replay and take any notes as you go as well on this. But I'm going to work from the end backwards and cover each of these different stages in the advertising funnel just after I've had a quick drink of water. Okay, so at the conversion stage, first I talk about the audience in each of these slides. So they have an existing relationship with you. So they're probably pretty close to the point of converting, and as a brand, you just need to be honest and help them take the final step. You should have been building trust throughout this process anyway, so you need to be upfront and honest with them as to what they need to take that final step. What additional benefit can you offer to make them feel comfortable to take that step? So then in the table below this, I've got the 4 different areas listed. So the offers and what you can put in front of them based on where they're at, the ad type, so the actual ad units themselves, and the campaign objectives. And then I'll go through just some sort of copy examples of how you would talk to this audience different to some of the other stages as well. So from an offer perspective, they're targeted to, you can retarget based on products browsed and more targeted to the type and category of products that they've browsed on your website, or if they've performed certain behaviours such as shoes, I add them to cart, and then back to the website, or it's called so you can retarget based on those behaviours that they've actually performed. Also, you might want to offer just to answer any questions. And I've got in the next one around the ad types, I've got Facebook Messenger ads, and they're a really interesting ad unit in that Facebook know that customers, going back to that human interaction, still want to talk to an actual human being. And particularly if your service is one that they need to make a fairly big leap and a fairly big decision-making process, then put in a Facebook Messenger ad. So basically what it does is it just looks like a link ad, and when they click on it, it takes them to Facebook Messenger, that then opens up a conversation that you can have some automated replies to them to get them going. But they can then ask questions. If it's particularly if your industry is something that they don't really want to put in a comment and in a public sphere, or let other people know that they're looking at that kind of service, then Facebook Messenger ads can be really good just to get those last little objections and questions and little things that people ask, and that you as a business, you would know that people always ask this. These are the questions that, some of the first and the last questions that they ask before they actually make a decision to sign up or convert to whatever it is you've got to offer. The different ad types, some other ones as well, are retargeting ads, and they can take in the form of any sort of video, image, carousel, whatever you would like. They can retarget people based on, again, the behaviours that they perform. Another really big one for e-commerce stores, rather, and online stores, are product catalogue ads. So they're these dynamic ads that are basically fully automated. They're fantastic because the algorithm knows that the product that they've been looking at, and they then go and show them similar products as well, and that's basically all based on the products that they've already browsed. And the objective for this conversion stage is obviously conversions. That's the objective you want to get people to do. That's the next step that they've you want to get them to do. And with the examples around copy, clearly you're going to be talking to these people different to someone that is completely cold and never heard of your brand before. So you might say something like, did you forget something? Like, come back and complete your purchase. You might not say exactly that, but you can be fairly upfront and honest with these people because you've got a relationship with them and you've built that trust a little bit. So, also offering help, like, not sure what product is right for you, like browse other similar products here. You can have those product catalog ads that will do that automatically for you. So you can try and, it's just little cues that you can help to try and get them over the line. And again, that language you're going to be using is different than, say, this main level in the main stage in the advertising funnel called the consideration stage. This is where most of your ads will be served, and this is actually where most people will drop off in your sales funnel as well, because there are a lot of things that you've got to deal with in this stage. Once you've sort of got that initial hook in the awareness stage and you've got them through here, this is the main part where you really need to answer a lot of objections and solve problems and build trust and your authority, and gradually build that relationship with them by having a conversation with them around how you can solve their problems and why your product is the right one for them. So you need to think about content that answers the different questions they've been wondering about. And again, you as a business, you know what the main questions that people ask straight up, and you need to think about those and jot those down and say, well, what content can I put in front of them that helps answer that objection that they have? It might also show what the benefits and advantages of your product is and why it's different to others on the market. And other content might just help them connect with you as a business. People want that, going back to that saying around on staff, a connection, not attention. People want that connection and to know the brand, who the brand and who the humans are behind that business as well. So it might be content that introduces you as a business owner, shows what happens behind the scenes. People really enjoy that because they buy into the actual values of the business and they want those values to align with their personal values as well. So different ad types that you would use in this stage would be link posts with a single image or carousel images, or you can have videos in carousels as well. You can have videos just themselves. Again, videos are great. Obviously, it's a resource time more than anything. If you can all have video ads, that'd be great. Sometimes also people don't always watch videos, and Facebook has got a big emphasis on there. If you're on the train, or if you don't have your headphones in, if you're walking somewhere, if you're driving, you're not going to be watching videos. So you need to think how you can connect with those people as well. So yes, videos are great, and they're a really interactive medium because they can quickly tell a number of different messages in a short period of time, and a moving image tends to grab people's eyes or attention rather. So videos are great, but not all of us have the ability to create them, and not everyone will watch a video as well. Another different type of ad type that you might want to have is, I've been using more of these lately. They're called canvas ads, and we're actually going to cover these in next week's webinar around creating ads that convert. It's a little bit of a plug for next week's webinar, but we'll go through these different ad units. And canvas ads are basically, they're only mobile based, but really they're only limited by your creativity, and you can basically put a whole heap of different components together, combined with images, videos, 360-degree video, text, buttons, kind of create a little mini site that kind of looks and smells like your own basic website, but it's hosted on Facebook. It loads immediately for people, and I guess it combines all of the best bits and puts them together in a little mini site for you. And we've had some success with those recently as well. So they might be an ad type that you can use in this stage as well. Another with the objectives. Again, sometimes it may differ depending on how close they are, and also how good the content is. Conversions is probably still a bit of a leap for some people. Yes, ideally you might get some conversions from this stage, but you might need to get some more data out of them to then be able to serve them more dedicated conversion ads. So you might need to get some traffic and use a website clicks objective. Around choosing the right objectives, really you need to look at what is that, what's that, I guess, the next step you need to get them to. So what would be the ideal objective for that? I mean, yeah, we all want to get people to convert to our final product and buy our final product. But if you've got a piece of content such as a blog or something like that, a conversions objective doesn't make sense for that because it's the next step after that. So, and Facebook won't know who to serve that through to because the link that you send them through to is a piece of content, not necessarily a product page. So you may need to use and test some other different objectives as well. There is no silver bullet in Facebook advertising. Around examples for content that you can put in front of, how you talk to people in this stage is really just pushing the value aspect and getting a reaction from them like, this isn't my strong suit. This might be an example of, 10 tips to stay on fashion trend for spring or something like that. Maybe, answering the different pain points and questions that people have, like you'll never have to worry about wriggling out of a contract again. We've all been there with, and people can resonate with these different messages that they interact with some of these big brands every single day, and it's just the bane of their existence. So offering a solution to that is as good as any other offer out there. Even if it is a monetary value as well, around free shipping on all orders over $50. Like that's always a really compelling offer, but they need to know what they're putting in their basket that's going to add up to over $50 and whether the shipping is actually any value to them. So there might be some more education and messages you need to put in front of them before that. But the consideration stage is a really meaty stage and is one of the more important parts you need to think about building people and driving people closer to that point of conversion, because the more attention that you can grab from people and the more you can be front of mind in a consideration stage, then it really just opens up. It makes that hose bigger that then sends people through to the conversion stage that you can serve them a really targeted ad in the conversion stage. So that's the middle level. If you're still following along at home, we're up to the last, the top of the funnel, and these are really cold audiences in the awareness stage. So you need to think about how you can grab their attention of a completely cold audience. And to do that, you really need to offer value first. You need to be able to stand out in that news feed. And I usually, when I talk to people around what would work, I usually say to think of the tactics that you would use in your organic page post. So the day-to-day management of your page, what sort of content are you putting on that in front of people? And because as you manage your page, you're not putting out an offer every single day. You're thinking about, well, what value can I offer to my existing page? So what sort of content can I put in front of them? And if you get in that frame of mind, then it makes the offer for this cold audience a lot easier. It is content that, delights and entertains, and it gets an emotional reaction. And it talks about the viewer and their problems, and not necessarily about your business, not yet anyway. But it needs to be able to give them a little hook that they can come away different from consuming that piece of content than before they arrive. Now, that different doesn't need to be a full transformative experience. It may simply be that they're slightly more educated, that they had a bit of a giggle or laughed at your entertaining video. Maybe it had resonated with them because it had a nostalgic reaction and a more emotional reaction that they can relate to as a human being. It's only a minor little thing, but is really valuable in at least kicking off that conversation. And the ad types that really work for this, I use 9 times out of 10, I use videos for this. Unless I've got a really interesting image that clearly it needs to, like the old saying, an image says 1,000 words, it probably needs to say at least that in this stage, because it needs to grab people's attention. And the objectives that I would use in this, again, even though we want to get these people eventually to the point of converting, really what we want to do now is just grab their attention so we can grab some data off them and we can remarket to them based on the behaviours that they perform. So the objectives would be around video views, or it might be engagement, depending on what it is. some examples of how you would talk to this audience. It's clearly very different than that conversion level. So, ever thought about what goes into making or what goes into XYZ? Want to know more? Here you go. Here are their answers, or here are the secrets from this industry that they'll never tell you. I don't know, some sort of messages around. Some other funny videos are out there. Things you never hear people say about XYZ. It could be like things you never hear people say about, I don't know, car salesmen. Oh, they're really trustworthy. You can use those kind of tactics as a bit of a funny, entertaining type message in there as well. You can also use the engagement objective if you're trying to get more of a peer-to-peer type engagement happening on that post. So tag a friend that you can always rely on to whatever it is. More of a, you see them on your news feed as you're scrolling through. I have no doubt that those types of content sticks out to you as a user, and Facebook will show them to more people because they know that people are interacting with them and engaging with them. So it's clearly valuable to that audience. It's most likely that they're going to get served to a much larger audience. That's just the way that the algorithm works. So there are the three levels of the sales funnel, from conversion, consideration, and awareness. So I just want to recap because there was a lot there. I just want to recap what we sort of went through. Using these three principles is really going to help. Firstly, always putting the user first when thinking about your advertising funnel. So what you can put in front of them that gets them to the next action, and mapping out those potential touch points that you may have with customers. And again, you're not going to be able to cover every single one, but whether you use a worksheet for that or whether you just do it on a whiteboard, piece of paper, whatever it is, try and think about the decision-making process that people need to make before they actually get to the point of converting. And then with those touch points, what sort of offers can you put in front of them that are going to be most relevant to them? What questions do you need to answer? What problems do you need to solve at those touch points to get them to take action? So that's the basis of a Facebook advertising funnel. If anything, just remember these 3 points when you're trying to design that. So like I said at the start of this webinar, I wanted to give you some actionable steps on what to focus on next. So you're not so much overwhelmed with all of the information and you can actually take something away from this. So I do encourage you to complete that Facebook ad funnel worksheet if that's workable for you, or you just want to do the funnel on a whiteboard or piece of paper, whatever it is. But I do encourage you to try and complete that and at least map it out and lay it out for you. That will be the first step for you. After that, again, another shameless plug for my next webinar session next week, which really the way I've structured these webinars is no mistake, or no accident rather, that I started on who are we going to target, and then the next webinar, this one being on, well, how are we going to get that target audience and move them to the point of conversion? And then next week, we're going to be, what do we need to put in front of them to get them to take that action? So next week's going to be on creating Facebook ads that convert. That's on Wednesday, September 27th. If you're watching this after the fact, whenever it is, maybe it's already gone. But that's when it is on there. I encourage you to sign up for that webinar at organicdigital.com.au/webinar. You can see that URL below there. And of course, I don't want you to leave without claiming your free Facebook ad performance session. If you go through to this URL here at organicdigital.com.au/training, you'll actually go to our training solutions. Now, we actually obviously we do trainings, we're doing it on a webinar now, but we do this on a day-to-day basis for individuals and groups as well. But if you want to claim your free, like I said, we can chat about whatever you like, whether it be what you're doing in Facebook ads at the moment, what you want to do, go through to that URL and just enter your details and just leave a comment saying that you attended the webinar. We'll be able to recognise your email anyway, and then we'll just send you a link to book at a time that suits you, and we can jump on Skype and really discuss what you would like to around Facebook advertising and I guess the challenges you're facing at the moment. And we want to get some information out of you as well, so we will ask you some questions around what you're struggling with, because that also helps us generate the webinar content and the webinar topics, so we know that what we're talking about on these webinars is relevant to you as well. So we'd really love you to jump on for 30 minutes and have a discussion around your Facebook ads, talking about our Facebook advertising training as well. Like I said, we offer individual or group options. They're run over the course of half a day, in person or online, and we can break that half a day up into as many segments that work for your schedule or calendar. But basically, the training that we do would take you through every single step that we take to set up campaigns for if we were managing it on behalf of your business. So not just the setup and what to do in Adverts Manager, but the steps before that, this laying out the funnel, finding the right audience, deciding on the creative, determining what messages we need to put out there, so mapping out that process. And then we actually do jump into Adverts Manager and Power Editor with you. We show you how to set up all of the ads properly, what buttons to press, how to lay out and structure your advertisements, and then making sure that you know whether they're working or not, so how you can actually measure them, read the results and read the numbers, and how to troubleshoot campaigns if they're not performing as well as you'd like, or how to scale campaigns when they are inevitably going to work. With our training, obviously you might be wondering what it's worth to you as a business. So like I said, we have the two different solutions. First one is an individual training. If it's just one-on-one with you and your business, it's an upfront fee of $1,280. Obviously, we pay extra attention to the strategy and the sales funnel. You get that real individualized attention. We problem solve some issues you're facing in growing and scaling your business as well, and how we can use Facebook ads to help with that. And together we workshop the creative that will help convert your customers. So we map out not only what's working on Facebook from a tactical perspective, but also talk about the human psychology around your audience and what creative you can put in front of them to help make them help them to take action. The other solution that we offer is group sessions as well. We've actually got an offer that if you have if you're an individual business owner and you know some other people that would like to participate in some Facebook advertising training, if you get them together, then you come for free. So we have up to a maximum of 6 people. We'd like to keep our groups pretty small so we can give each person some individualized attention throughout the day. But as a group, it's more of a collaborative session, particularly around the sticking points in your sales funnel and getting people over the line. We go through the principles and the tactics of Facebook advertising in a lot of detail. And we also together workshop the creative that will help convert your customers. And really, that's great if you've got some other business owners in there, because you can get some real life feedback from people on what's going to work and what isn't going to work with you. So it's obviously a cheaper option as well for up to 6 people. So if you've got 5 friends and each of those will pay $250, as the groups get smaller, the prices basically scale up from there. So it starts from $250 from there. But they're the 2 training options that we offer. Like I said, would love you to register for your free 30-minute ad performance session and get involved there and see if we can help at all. And I don't think there's any questions, but obviously if you have anything you would like to ask after the fact, then here are some different ways that you can reach us. That URL at organicdigital.com.au/chat will just take you straight through to Facebook Messenger. Obviously, we spend a fair bit of time on Facebook, so you can chat to us there as well. That's also our email address there, as well as if you want to jump on the phone, that's our phone number, and also our Skype address as well if you want to chat to me on Skype and have a conversation there as well. But really appreciate you giving me your time today. I hope you have a fantastic evening wherever you are, or day wherever you are around the world. It's been an absolute pleasure. Chat to you soon. Bye-bye.